good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all. And it's my great pleasure to welcome to you all, to extend this warm welcome to you all to our launching event of the Sustainable Development Goal number 16 Hub Chair. And this has been an event that we were looking forward to for a long time, and I'm so glad that you are able to join us. I'm Alp Özerdem. I'm the Dean of the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter School for Peace and Conflict Resolution. And this event is organized as part of our Peace Week, which takes place twice a year since fall 2020. And this year's theme is bridging peace building, development, and security. And I wouldn't really imagine a better thematic area to launch the SDG16 Hub, because I think what we do, what this hub is about, really resonates with the thematic area. We have an hour for this launching event. The time will be the essence of the matter. There will be several colleagues speaking in this event, as well as myself, two colleagues from the George Mason University, as well as we have high-level representation from our vice chairs, and whom I will introduce momentarily. So because only 1 hour, I'll kick off, and I have some slides to share. Let me do that. And while we are doing that, I guess this event, and can you just give me a note whether you are able to see my slides? I would just kind of make sure. Brilliant. Okay. So sustainable development goals. I think, that's the kind of the beginning of the whole story, isn't it? And let's start from there. SDGs, as we know, they were adopted by all UN member states back in 2015. There are 17 of them. And our SDG number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, I think has a very special place amongst all of those SDGs, largely because when you look at the focus areas of other SDGs, from the health, education, gender equality, eradication of poverty, you would see that in that blueprint for sustainable development with the 17 SDGs, they are integrated and they are interdependent goals. And I would argue that peace is an integral part for all of them. It's really the foundation for all SDGs. And I'm particularly pleased that number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, is also a separate SDG, which gives that sort of recognition for the importance of this subject matter. And I'm saying that as a scholar of peace and conflict studies. And so in this framework, it's all about transformative partnerships, and although with the with SDG goals for 2030, we will need to do a lot more and a lot better, but ultimately those goals can be only achieved through multi-stakeholder collaboration, governments, academia, civil society, and the private sector. For those goals to be achieved, there needs to be much more collaboration and rigorous monitoring and also reporting to drive impact and innovation. So with these goals, I think the kind of like our focus here, and that is all why we are here for. SDG and number 16 and the hub network. Uh, and I think here is what really kind of driving us is that United Nations Academic Impact Unit. Sorry, I have slight problem with my slides here. And let me just go back to that. And so in this United Nations Academic Impact Network, the goal is really to designate leading universities worldwide to act as thematic hubs for each SDG in order to foster research, teaching, and public engagement aligned with the 2030 agenda. In this cohort of SDG hubs, um, the UNI has decided to go for hub chair plus 3 vice chairs. And I think that's really great because, as I will explain in a minute, as the Carter School, we'll be working with 3 leading universities globally for the goal of SDG 16. And these SDG hubs really for knowledge exchange and collaboration, and they aim to provide that platform for institutions and scholars and students across different regions. Again, with our hub, we were particularly attentive to the fact that we would have a global coverage as much as possible in our partnership. And I think the final point I want to make here is that the hub network matters because it really kind of gives the opportunity of visibility and influence at the UN level. So leveraging higher education in attaining the SDG goals and the academic sector's voice in UN discussions in different ways. There are many opportunities with this network. And with that in mind, and I think we should just bear in mind that our particular um, SDG number 16 um, will give us that opportunity. And here, as the peace, justice, and strong institutions, the goal is to promote peaceful and inclusive societies, access to justice for all, and effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. As an SDG itself, the overall goal is to reduce violence and building trust. And we know that in order to reduce violence, we got to have a comprehensive response, socioeconomically, politically, and also, in fact, in many ways, culturally. And but there, one of the key thematic areas will be how to build trust between different institutions, different constituencies, both vertically and horizontally. And within SDG 16, I think it's also really critical to empower communities and partnerships because the scale of the challenges we face with peace and justice globally, this cannot be the job for just one particular type of actor. We've got to work together. So whether it's the government, civil society, academia, media, and other actors, I believe that forming partnerships, fostering innovation, strengthening civic engagement, and building local capacities for peace and governance. These will be essential aspects of our work as the SDG 16 Hub over the next 3 years. So just a couple of points, then I will turn to my guests for the launching of this hub. As I said, the UNI has gone for a different partnership structure for the period from 25 to 27. Now, each 17 SDGs will have a chair, hub chair, and 3 vice chairs. In our case, the Carter School is the proud Hub Chair for SDG16. And this really matters to us because as the oldest and largest conflict resolution school here in the US, we have a history of working on these matters for nearly 45 years. In a given year, here at the Carter School, we have around 500 students taking our programs at the undergraduate, master's, and PhD levels. And uniquely, we are one of the 10 colleges here at George Mason University, which is the largest public university and the most diverse university here in Virginia. So for a school of our history and the impact, I think this SDG Hub Chair role is a natural fit, and I'm so glad that we'll be able to do this over the next 3 years. But I'm also really proud of the fact that we'll be with 3 vice chairs. These are vice chair for teaching and education, which is Narxoz University in Kazakhstan, vice chair for outreach and partnership, and that'll be led by University of Peace in Costa Rica, and vice chair for research, and that'll be University of Oxford in United Kingdom. So with that note, now I want to turn to my first speaker, and that is President Kanat Kozakmet of Narxoz University. President, it's over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alparslan Bey, teşekkür ederim.
Teşekkürler.
Okay, dear guests, on behalf of the many thousands of professors and students of Narxoz University, allow me to welcome you today in the session dedicated to the official launch of the Unite Global Hub for SDG16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institution. So, first of all, let me just give the context of the Kazakhstan and the impact of the Kazakhstan for United Nations. So you know that for Kazakhstan is the member of United Nations since 1992, and now we have currently 15 United Nations offices and agencies operating in the Kazakhstan. And our main 3 achievements of our country in this direction is disarmament initiatives, then the membership in the Security Council, and work with other united bodies like United Human Rights Council. And the latest update that on the 3rd August of 2025, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres made an official visit to the Kazakhstan, and we launched it. So it was like a coincidence, but the United Nations Regional Center on the Sustainable Development for Central Asia and Afghanistan. So, and the center is located in Almaty near us. So this is kind of a big coincidence, but for us is an opportunity to really closely work with the United Nations office. And as the Antonio Guterres said about this, like our country is truly a bridge between East and West, North and South. And this also give for us as a university kind of a responsibility of being a part of these big initiatives. So I just want to share some new strategical changes. And by the way, next in the October, we have a board of directors and we have made our changes in our organizational structure. We are creating an Institute of Global Diplomacy and Support to UN. So it will be not on the level of on the school, but on the level of the university. It will be directly mentored by our board of trustees and top management of the university. So effectively to do this, and we have a great plan and some initiatives that I will share with you today. So we see this as a kind of a platform and being a teaching part. We have a great international cooperation, and the international strategy is a part of our main priorities. And I will also, after my speech, give a speech to our Vice President for Internationalization is Aygerim. She's also here. So what we want to do, first of all, we will create a coordination of the Central Asian Alliance of UNI member universities on SDG 16. So with your support, dear partners, we hope in the future to create an international alliance of universities on SDG 16. This is like our first initiatives to discuss about. Then in the spring of 2026, next year, with the support of United Nations Information Office in Almaty, we plan to hold a large international conference, Mind for Peace. So in the person and offline. So the goal of the conference is to unite the efforts of partners, UN representatives, the diplomatic corps, leading political and public figures, and the students lead to promote the United Nations initiative on SDG 16. So to present the activities on Hub universities, to exchange opinions, experiences, and visions on the development of the collaboration. So we will provide and transform our diplomatic hub on the student level. So in accordance with the new priorities of the university's international strategy, the diplomatic club and association of students, future diplomats, lawyers, politicians, scientists will become the youth wing of the university for promoting SDG 16 and UN initiatives. So uniting students not only from our university, but also from the entire country and the region. So, and we invite your students to cooperate with ours. So, dear participants of this season, I will give also speech for the IGIRIM. IGIRIM, you're here. Yeah, please add more updates for our thoughts.
Thank you, President.
Thank you, President Kanat Mirgalevich, and hello, everyone, dear esteemed colleagues and partners. If I may, I just have a few slides, actually, to share very quickly. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, so I just wanted to add a little bit to what Kanat Mirgalevich mentioned earlier. Basically, we are driven here at Narxoz by the societal impact that we are able to make. So we're not just an academic institution. As you all know from our application, we are a 60 years old university that has always had an impact in our country and in our region. And of course, with globalization, we understand the importance of academic hubs, expert hubs on global processes. And despite the fact that today, the world, unfortunately, is torn between various, protectionist, realist, neoliberalist tensions, we believe in dialogue. We believe in constructive, value-adding, sustainable, and reciprocal relations. So through academia, this is our ultimate goal, to unite countries and to help systems reform. So the reason why the president today is here, I am present as well. We have our esteemed Dean of the School of Law and Public Policy present here as well, Tolga Sarsenbaev, as well as Professor Ayjan Smailova, who all of you know. We are here to showcase that institutionally we stand behind this initiative, and for us it's much more than just one standalone grant application. We believe that for the region globally and for Kazakhstan especially, SDG 16 today is perhaps the most important SDG. So I just wanted to mention very quickly that, of course, it's important to understand the context of Kazakhstan, and we feel that it's a great honor that we were awarded this vice chair position, and we do not take it lightly. And we, of course, observe very carefully what is happening on the political, economic, and social plane. So in this regard, Kazakhstan currently plays a great mediating role. And as our head of state, President Tokayev, mentions, that we're this middle power that is always pro-peace. So having this context of peacemaking, of making reforms, of being agile and flexible, and of course of real, backed up evidence on things like disarmament, and also on being able to talk to a very diverse group of stakeholders, we think that this is going to amplify and help us to scale up many of our activities. We match very closely with the SDG 16 agenda. So as I mentioned, the mission of university is to help develop the society through type of students who will not be afraid to ask questions and to take on, complex tasks of today's world and to try to solve them constructively and peacefully. I wanted to also highlight our School of Law and Public Policy, which of course was the key initiator of this initiative. So since we are vice chair for teaching, I just wanted to mention that this is the range of programs that we fully realize in English language. And within each program, we have an international strategic partner. So in the very first meeting back in spring, I remember our chair mentioning that it's important for us not to try to create everything anew, but actually to try to scale up things that we already have. So this is what we would like to do as well. So the partners that we have currently, the projects we have currently, we will utilize them all to help grow this 3-year initiative. We have already a good background in doing a lot in SDG16. We have a free legal clinic that actually is quite exemplary on Kazakhstani level, that offers free of charge services in various spheres. This is also the place for internships, both for Narxoz students and also students from other universities. We are an approved host site for AFC court room, meaning our students always have access to top practitioners. We also realize programs like human rights education, where we have over 5,000 applications from teachers. And as our president mentioned, within the structure of our university, in order to make this effort sustainable, we will open this Institute for Global Diplomacy and UN Support, specifically to support our group of chair and vice chairs. The list of partners that we have, that we're growing. Again, primarily we're connecting with them academically, but also in terms of various cultural activities, practical projects. So we will extend an invitation, with your permission, to them as well to participate in our events. And this is just snapshots of Narxoz, where we'll be very happy to see you this coming spring for the Mind for Peace conference. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Algarim. And, for this particular chair position, teaching and education, we are incredibly pleased to have Narxoz University as our partner in this initiative. From day one, your university has been so enthusiastic about this initiative. And I know, as you outlined briefly, you have so many plans as part of SDG16 Hub, and with the Carter School and other vice chairs and all the universities in the UNI SDG framework. I think your leadership in this area will be pivotal in responding some critical challenges in peace and justice. So I'd like to thank you and President Kozahmet for your inputs to our launch event. Thank you. And with that note, now I want to turn to Vice Rector Juan Carlos Sainz-Borgo from University for Peace in Costa Rica as our Vice Chair for Teaching. Sorry, Vice Chair for Public Outreach. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dean Absan. Thank you very much, President Kanat, and all the colleagues. On behalf of the University for Costa Rica, University for Peace, I'm extremely grateful for this great opportunity and this great launch. I would like to start mentioning that University for Peace is a university created by the General Assembly of the United Nations. We are an intergovernmental organization that the headquarters are located in Costa Rica. However, we are global institutions. We have 12 locations around the world. And some of them we teach, some of them we represent politically speaking. In the Americas, we have here in Costa Rica and also in Colombia. In Africa, we have campuses in Ethiopia and in Somalia. In Asia, we have China. And in Europe, we have in Italy and in Geneva. So we are a global institution, and we are more than happy to share with all of you our network of campuses and people and our headquarter capacities to do our job. In relation with this great honor to be part of the UNI and to be the hub of SDG16s. We're extremely grateful. Why? We had the responsibility to be the hub of the SDG12 in the previous time. However, the model at that time was at one university was in charge of the hub. However, as Dean Upson says, to build up a network with only one university was a great challenge, because even though we have a department of environment, development, and peace, was extremely challenging to really connect with institutions. However, this new model proposed by the UNI with the United Nations to have a network, it is a great opportunity. So I'm really optimistic of the thing that we can do. And again, quoting again Dean Upson, the most important SDG. Even though we have the responsibility to SDG 12, that I think is key about development and consumption, this is the key one. If we don't have peace, it's impossible to develop the whole agenda. It's a nonsense. So I'm really optimistic that with the visions from Washington, D.C., from Oxford, from Kazakhstan, from Costa Rica, and from what we represent, we will be able to relaunch the discourse of peace. We are extremely concerned about how we see the discourse of peace disappearing. We listen, we watch leaders from all over the world at the General Assembly taking aside the topic of peace, even though some people talk about peace, some people talk about the Nobel Peace Prize, but the discourse is of a confrontational discourse or the war solution. So I really believe that this is a space that we can really empower our institutions, but to build up a network that embrace our students to really multiply the effect of what we believe. I think all of us believe that peace is the way, peace is the change, is what we need to work together. So I'm extremely helpful to have the opportunity to work, and looking forward to receive the invitation from Kazakhstan to go there and to start to work directly. And again, I think we need to develop a modus operandi, how we should operationalize what we need to do, because I think the challenge ahead is great. And we here at the University for Peace, we are ready to take it. So thank you very much to all of us. And I give back to you, Dean Upson. Thank you.
Vice Rector Sensborger, thank you so much for these wonderful remarks. And like yourself, I'm looking forward to my visit Almaty to Narxoz University because that's one of the Central Asian countries I haven't been to yet. But as well as Kazakhstan, I'm looking forward to coming to Costa Rica. As a peace and conflict studies scholar, I know your university, University for Peace, is one of the main parts of the peace infrastructure globally, and what you do in Central America and globally, I think it's just so important. So when I realized that, there was an opportunity of inviting your university as one of our vice chairs, I was thrilled with the prospect, and I'm so pleased that you are here with us today, and I'm just so looking forward to our partnership over the next 3 years. And I think the composition of this hub and the members, we can really do something transformational. So thanks so much for joining us in this session. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have 2 more speakers, and they are from my university here at George Mason, and in fact they are our partners in this whole thing, in this hub activity. The first one is the executive director of the Institute for a Sustainable Earth, Dr. Leah Nichols. Leah and I, in fact, put together our application back, I don't know, it was like a year ago. And Leah has been the person leading the environmental sustainability agenda here at the university. She has been pivotal in making George Mason a leading actor in this particular field. So it's wonderful to have her input in this process, and the prospect of working with with the Institute for a Sustainable Earth in this process. So without any further ado, I want to invite Dr. Leah Nichols for her remarks.
Sorry, I got the screen shared, not the mute button. But I was just saying, Alp, it's a pleasure to be working with you. I was absolutely delighted when you reached out about a year ago with the idea of submitting this proposal. Because I do think, I love working with the Carter School because of their orientation toward practice, putting scholarship into action to make a difference in the world. And that really is what the Sustainable Development Goals are all about. I was asked today to tell you a little bit more about the Institute for Sustainable Earth. And so I'm going to talk a bit about some of the programs that we operate and how we operate here at the university. I'm looking forward to extending. You'll see a lot of what we're doing right now is inside the university with more local partners, but I'm looking forward to having the opportunity to work in a more global context that this SDG Hub is going to afford us. All right. So the Institute for Sustainable Earth is situated in the Office of Research, Innovation and Economic Impact, centrally located. And we're tasked with cultivating communities of research and practice here at the university, bringing together the partnerships that are necessary to create solutions and to create the knowledge that we need to address grand challenges, global challenges, local challenges, all things sustainable. And so we focus on cultivating communities of research and practice. We engage our global networks. We're creating local networks. We do a lot of convening where we create opportunities for people in different disciplines, different walks of life, external partners to the university, practitioners, decision makers. We bring them all together for conversations, facilitated conversations, to identify the most fruitful opportunities for research, and that can be put into practice as well. And then my team and I work to catalyze and support transdisciplinary development within those teams. Alp has already shared this slide, but the Institute here, ISE and the university have aligned ourselves with the Sustainable Development Goals from the beginning. ISE was created in 2019, in part to support this agenda. So one of the very first things we did after the pandemic certainly disrupted initial plans, but coming out of the pandemic, we put together what is called a 17 Rooms U collaboration exercise here at the university. 17 Rooms is a deep dive protocol where 17 different dialogues are organized with faculty, practitioners, decision makers, etc., to really look at what can we do together in those groups to identify near-term actions to make progress on the SDGs. That protocol was actually designed by and initially implemented by the Brookings Institution in collaboration with Rockefellers. At the global scale, they were initially hosting these types of dialogues at the UN meetings, at various UN meetings around the SDGs. But they reached out to us, and we were one of the first universities to try to implement that protocol inside the institutions of higher ed. I hesitated to talk about something that we did 4 years ago now, but I do think this type of protocol is a framework that we could use collaboratively across the SDG network as a way that we could engage each other and focus on what are some actions that we can do in the near term to move ourselves forward on these goals. I wanted to highlight the diversity of initiatives. We're working with faculty across the university, often with external partners. I'm not going to read them all here, but with each of these, we have groups of faculty and students who are coming together, engaging each other across the different disciplines, across the different academic units, and we support them developing partners in the community and beyond to advance research agendas in these various spaces. I also wanted to highlight our Summer Fellows Graduate Research Partnerships Program. This is in collaboration with our Associate Dean for Graduate Academics, our graduate students, and we provide financial support and professional development to graduate students who work with partner organizations on co-designed research projects. And this is really key. we're not creating internships. We're creating opportunities for a partner who has a research need to work with students in our university who are interested in engaging on that research challenge, to come together to co-design research and to proceed with a 10-week program that develops data and provides information that is valuable to both sides of that equation. Also a model we potentially could leverage in the SDG16 space. Then lastly, I wanted to highlight the Grand Challenge initiative that the university has recently launched. This is a university-wide effort led by the president and the vice president for research, innovation, and economic impact, and many of the other senior leaders at the university. We are looking to create bold solutions for a changing world. We've identified the 6 topics, or the 6 solution areas over here in our diagram, where we're really leaning into aligning our research investments, our academic programming, et cetera, to create the leaders to drive these types of sustainable systems forward. So this is catalyzing some very interesting, very exciting energy here at the university, catalyzing some exciting new initiatives, expanding on existing initiatives, including this the SDG16 Hub. So we look forward to continuing to lean into this effort across the board. And then lastly, obviously, as we started, I am delighted to be supporting the SDG Hub. We'll be working to connect faculty and partners from across the university into this SDG Hub, really looking at some of the intersectionality across the different SDGs, given the population of faculty that we support. And I'm going to keep my remarks somewhat brief so that I can give my colleague, Dr. Vish, time to talk a bit more about those sorts of synergies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leah, much appreciated. And so I asked Dr. Nichols to give those remarks, really just to contextualize where we are coming from as a Carter School with SDG 16. The kind of little bit background, what we've been doing in this SDG framework over the years, and the leadership of the Institute for a Sustainable Earth. And I think it's been so important that and also a great advantage for the Carter School that we are not starting from a blank sheet. As the university, this is quite a strong area in terms of our programs, our research, and our community engagement. And Dr. Nichols' leadership in this area has been phenomenal, and so looking forward to working with her closely in this initiative too. And as a next speaker, I also asked Dr. Juliana Gwish, who is the Associate Director of the Institute, to talk about a subject, not necessarily directly about the Institute, but her previous life and what she's been doing. And that is really kind of like with the question of synergy solutions, the question of how SDG 16, our hub, can relate to other SDGs, right? So Juliana has done amazing work in this particular area. So I think, just sort of think about our future and our work together. I thought her input will be incredibly helpful. So over to you, Juliana.
First of all, good morning, everyone. It is an honor to be joining you on this special occasion during the Carter School's Peace Week, which, as you all likely know, is taking place simultaneously as the UN General Assembly and Climate Week in New York. My name is Juliana Gwish, and I'm the Associate Director of the Institute for Sustainable Earth. And as Alp alluded to, I've had many different roles throughout my career. Many different ever-changing hats I've worn include working across the International Sustainable Development Goals, climate change, global health, human rights, higher education, and more as a transformation catalyst, a capacity builder, connector, social worker, healer, applied anthropologist, transdisciplinary scientist, and scholar practitioner. I was invited today to speak to you about the imperative for building bridges across divides and seeking out synergistic opportunities for collective action to advance not just the SDG 16, but all the SDGs, which are critical for upholding the human rights and dignity of all and ensuring a more just and climate resilient future for all. And this long-awaited launch of the UNI SDG 16 Hub comes at a momentous but critical period as we mark the 80th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations and prepare for a consequential COP30 in Belém. We are no doubt facing some of the greatest challenges of our time. our global society is stricken by pernicious violence and conflict, rising polarization and political instability, and increasing threats of climate change and the next big global pandemic that have and could unleash untold human suffering and further exacerbate the humanitarian crises that were at the very heart of the formation of the SDGs. The need for fostering peace, upholding justice, and restoring the foundations of strong, dependable, and accountable institutions around the world is starkly clear, as you've all talked about already. And the question is, are we willing and able to do our part? And if so, where do we begin, and what is our work to do? So to get us thinking about that, I just want to first ground us again, and you've seen this image multiple times now today, but to a reminder that the SDGs as a whole is a framework as part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which is focused at its very heart on transformation. And as it was described in its very foundation and formation, it is a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and planet. In fact, in the preamble, we see that peace is at the very foundation of the way that the formation of this framework was developed. Peace is focused on determined to foster peaceful, just, and inclusive societies which are free from fear and violence. There can be no sustainable development without peace, and no peace without sustainable development, which others have mentioned today. But peace is also about connecting across the different need for healing, for really transforming our society and addressing those broken fissures, the trauma that we've inflicted on people and planet throughout generations. And as we can also see, and we've talked about today already, there has been an imperative for addressing the interlinkages and integrated nature of the Sustainable Development Goals. This has been always at the very foundation of the agenda, and yet we've seen that a lot of the SDGs and the way that they've been approached and the development and implementation of these targets and indicators, we've seen a lot of silos and a lot of fracturing across the way. So my goal today is to help us think about bringing these pieces back together and using peace as a integrative and synergistic force. So where are we at? We are seeing a lot of alarm around the lack of progress, essentially, amidst multiple crises, and a call for synergistic action. And this has been highlighted in recent reports from the Sustainable Development Report in 2024, and more specifically focused on SDG reports and the indicators of progress in recent years in 2023 and 2024. We see that 84% of the SDGs targets show limited progress or reversal of progress. That the SDG progress has been stagnant since 2020, that not just SDG16, but also SDG2, SDG11, SDG14, and 15 are particularly off track. And the world is at a critical juncture of breakdown and breakthrough on peace, justice, and inclusion. And that was one of the most recent report on the SDG16 indicators. But also, and to bringing my own background in climate change and international sustainable development, focused on addressing these intersections across the climate crisis and sustainable development, there's been a new call, or a renewed call, I would say, for solving the climate emergency sustainable development challenge together. If we don't, we'll not solve them at all. Is essentially recent reports that were commissioned by UNDESA and UNFCCC Secretariat, from essentially creating an expert group on climate and SDG synergies to really address these opportunities and the gaps that they, working more cohesively in a synergistic fashion, can really create and open up for us. So I'm bringing these into the discussion today, not to say that we should be shifting to climate focus, although that's an intersectional force for peace, no doubt, but to use it as an exemplar to think about what can we learn from what has been done in this space to essentially address and leverage peace as sort of that unifying synergistic force as well, and really catalyze these efforts collectively, because these synergistic approaches to climate and SDGs are going to be moving forward. And so how can we also support those efforts while simultaneously ensuring that peace is not a sort of side add-on, but rather a central force and a foundation, as we've been talking about already. And I'm happy to share these reports. There's some actual 10 recommendations that were developed out of the second report that was commissioned that really addresses sort of where some of those entry points are for action. And it's also could be used as a way for us to think about where to begin in thinking about that synergistic force of peace and justice and strong institutions. So with SDG 16, how can we come back to its roots as being an enabler of the global goals. Like climate action, which is SDG13, peace, justice, and strong institutions, it not only cuts across all 17 SDGs, and I could make a case for every single one of them, and I give you some examples in my next couple of slides, but really it's a critical precursor and necessary for the realization of all the other SDGs, as we've already talked about. But really thinking about what it is that peace and justice as a framing and as a model for action can actually open up for us, and how we can shift our ways of approaching sustainable development with that as sort of our guiding force, is something that I'm hoping that we can think about today and get you looking at what the opportunities are for this SDG16 Hub in particular. But how can we use peace and justice not only as an organizing framework for integration and synergistic collaboration, but also leveraging those very knowledges, approaches, capacities, and ways of engaging in peace and peace-building practice as a source for healing of the communities and partners we're called to serve, and the institutions and systems we're seeking to transform. Here we go. So these are just some examples. I'm not going to go into detail of them all, but just again, I pulled out 8 of the different 17 SDGs to highlight sort of how peace, conflict, injustice intersects across these, and everything we're seeing from zero hunger and poverty to health and well-being to education. We say armed conflict causes disruption of food systems, poverty, and starvation, and can lead to mass displacement, which further exacerbates food insecurity. From education, we see human trafficking and violence are major barriers to school access and completion for children and youth. And education has been substantiated as a critical aspect for a critical force for all aspects of sustainable development, human rights realization. For clean energy, or affordable and clean energy, we see conflict and corruption as destabilizing forces for energy production, the costs and services, and leads to unequal distribution and access of energy resources. I'll highlight 2 more from this one. For climate action, which I've been talking about, climate migration due to increasing disasters, extreme weather, and eroding ecosystems, and a failure of government to take climate action can lead to violence, conflict, and land grabs. And I want to highlight the monumental International Court of Justice advisory opinion on climate recently, which has essentially affirmed that states have a legal obligation for climate inaction. And this opinion provides a strong legal basis for citizens in climate vulnerable nations to seek climate justice. Then we have life on land, and we're talking about things like conservation disputes and deforestation and land grabs as a result of corrupt and predatory industry or government threatens threatens biodiversity and sustainable land management, and can lead to outright violence against indigenous communities. And we've seen that time and time again over generations. So what is the potential pathways? What are opportunities that this new SDG Hub network can open up? I highlight a couple of examples from work that I've been deeply engaged in over the years. I think that I was alluding to different hub network models. The UNESCO Most Bridges Sustainability Science Coalition most recently, which has 6 global hubs and 3 founding partners and works across multiple member organizations, but their ethos is grounded in a humanities-driven transdisciplinary sustainability science approach that's really focused on solving and promoting the SDGs across different disciplines, but leveraging what has often been relegated to the sidelines, humanities, social sciences, indigenous ways and diverse ways of knowing, to the centerpiece, to really being that connective force. For Future Earth, which my colleague, Dr. Nichols, had highlighted, they have a global secretariat, hubs, and research networks, and they're focused on building transformations, but also bringing together unique research network opportunities to really catalyze this kind of scholarship and practice. But now we have this United Nations Academic Impact SDG Hub Network, and I'm not going to go into the structure of the network. You're familiar with that likely, and Dr. Alp has already shown sort of what the foundations of that are. But I wanted to just highlight that what's unique factors that we bring to this network is not just that they're based at universities, but that it's really grounded in research, teaching, and public engagement, and that begs the question, what is the critical role of academia in advancing sustainable development in the 2030 agenda? What are the unique capacities and contributions that institutions of higher education have to offer to a synergistic co-creative approach to peace and SDG action? And how can we come together and align around shared purpose? And just some ideas that were spinning around in my own mind were that the transdisciplinary impact-driven scholarship and practice that's grounded in purpose and commitment to serve, the unparalleled opportunities for capacity building and innovation that leverage diverse ways of knowing, seeing, being, and shaping the world, and these multiple pathways for transformative impact, some of which that my colleague highlighted already, including building the next generation of peace leaders and peace building practitioners, but also as Hub's chairs and co-chairs, and having the opportunity of the SDGs being grounded in different hubs, that you can serve as exemplars for principled values-based leadership, hold each other accountable, and complement one another's capacities and fill critical gaps in knowledge, capacity, and representation. And most importantly, creating space for inclusive, co-creative engagement, youth leadership, and context-specific community-driven solutions. So we have a lot on our table, our plate, and a lot of opportunity ahead of us. But thinking about what the potential is for this UNI SDG16 Hub, I see universities as conveners, co-creators, and catalysts for transdisciplinary, synergistic collaboration and collective knowledge and action. We have a particular exemplar Carter School here that has done this in practice for years and has been such a global leader in this space. But I also want us to think about peace as a connecting, unifying force for healing and transformation. And so I'll highlight some framings of peace that are really important to me and that have really been an inspiration to many of you, I'm sure, over the years. Peace as justice and justice as peace. There can be no peace without justice, and there can be no justice without peace, from Dr. Martin Luther King. Peace as healing, peace as bridging. The time for healing of the wounds has come. The moment to bridge the chasms that divide us has come. The time to build is upon us. This is none other than President Nelson Mandela in his inauguration speech in 1994. Then there's peace as relational and creative practice grounded in trust. And this is one of my favorite quotes, that social change moves at the speed of relationships, and that relationships move at the speed of trust. And how can we leverage the SDG16 Hub as a trust building force for peace building across the world? And I'll just end that by building trust, we are building peace, one relationship, one community, and one nation at a time. So I'll leave you with some questions to ponder.
Thank you, Juliana. Those questions and all the kind of like the points that you share with us, they're so critical and important for the work of this hub and what we are intending to do. And having you on board with your background and experience on different initiatives previously will be just such an added value. And the way forward as the integrative and synergistic approaches, I'm hoping that will really set the tone of our work here in the hub. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think what I want to do, really, remaining 5 minutes, I want to just wrap up by giving you a little bit, a few highlights in terms of what we are intending to do as the hub partners. Over the last few months, one of the things that we've done is really just sort of look at, as the hub chair and vice chairs, we focus on the kind of like what we want to do with this great responsibility and opportunity to lead this agenda over the next 3 years. So I think overall mission, we want to translate research into policy, innovation into practice, and theory into real world impact. And I think you heard this from all of my guests, our speakers today. And I think this is one of the strengths that we have in this SDG16 Hub. We are like-minded institutions, and I think we see the world from the kind of like the same lens. And I think that's exciting because it's going to be a great opportunity for us to come up with programs that will be complementary with each other. So we are seeing the hub as a platform so that we can actually be inclusive, try to bring as many partners as possible globally. We want to act as a connector in terms of between universities, connector in terms of different SDGs, and connector in terms of the ideas and processes and the kind of like the experiences. And finally, this kind of hub really needs to be a space as an enabler. And we are going to do our best to achieve that. And I think there are a few opportunities that we can really amplify this. So with that, I want to just kind of really quickly share with you some of the flagship programs that we identified. So rather than being kind of descriptive about what other universities in our network can do or should do, we wanted to be very flexible, but also kind of bring their capacities, their interests, as in the hub activities. So this 5 flagship programs really kind of as a initial frameworks that we can operate. And we see them as the kind of flexible opportunities. So the first one is the bridging the UN with young scholars. The goal here is that bringing the different UN agencies to present what questions that they have in relation to SDG framework, but particularly around SDG 16, and how young scholars globally can really make a bid to respond to those questions. So it's like almost like the matchmaking opportunity. And the first of which we want to organize this event in 2026, next year, and hopefully it's going to really attract so many young scholars, PhDs, postdocs, and others to be part of this particular opportunity. We also want to generate a global repository for SDG 16 related curricula. Algorithm mentioned earlier, and Narxoz University will do, I'm sure, an excellent job with that. And the idea here is that there's no point of really reinventing the wheel, right? So let's look at whatever is available out there and make it accessible to universities, programs globally to use those different ideas when it comes to teaching peace and conflict studies. We want to get together online, which would then really kind of have the access, from different universities globally for an annual online conference, SDG16 conference, almost like a touch point, kind of really see where we are with our goals and what we are doing. Also, with the new format, us being here in the US, but our 3 vice chairs in different parts of the world, I think there are lots of opportunities for regional workshops and conferences. So Narxoz University is already planning a conference in 26, and I know that University for Peace will also have some workshops and conferences in our thematic area. So that's really fantastic. And another area that we think is going to be critical, and that is the engagement of students, undergrads, masters, PhDs, kind of seeing their input, their voice, their contribution visible in this process. And so as the Carter School, we have a tradition of organizing a student-led symposium each year. And starting from 26, and that's going to take place in spring, we want to focus on SDG 16 and our hub activities. And I think that's going to really attract lots of young people, young scholars globally. So finally, there in the slide, you see the link for our website. So if you click on that, you are going to get to our website here at the Carter School, and you are going to see information about different programs. And I just want to kind of share with you here that the kind of like the timetable. So in terms of where we are right now, it's the Carter School Fall Peace Week. That's where we are. We are launching now the hub And after that, starting from spring and summer 26 and over the next 2 years, we'll be busy with an amazing selection of different programs and activities in this process. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is just a really quick highlight of what we are planning to do as the SDG16 Hub. I'm so delighted that you join us for this session. It was really important for us to have this launch so that we can kind of say, now we are formally launched, we can get on with the work, and you see the excitement from all partners. And I'm looking forward to really just making waves of impact in this area, in the SDG16 framework, but also SDGs in general. I think peace being the foundation for everything, as my colleagues pointed out, we are set to, move mountains and really do something about this, the challenge globally, the challenge of peace and security and justice. And with that, thank you and look forward to working with you. Please visit our website and there's the information about how to contact us. And because what we need in the hub is that enabling partnerships. And with that, thank you and look forward to seeing you in different events and occasions. Bye-bye.